चाओ चाओ दोस्तों। थंबनेल पे अगर आपने देख के ये वीडियो पे क्लिक किया है, so obviously we are going to be talking about Nicolo Zaniolo and how he has started his villain arc, especially for us Roma fans. So without any further ado, let's get to the topic, and we'll also have a brief discussion about the Roma Atalanta game from last night. तो भाई निकोलो ज़ैनियोलो ने ऑलमोस्ट सारे ब्रिजेस बर्न किए टुवर्ड्स रोमा फैंस, very reminiscent of Emmanuel Adebayor or more recently Ousmane Dembele, how both of them kind of burned their bridges against the former clubs and their sets of fans. Adebayor celebrating like crazy after he scored for City and running all the way to celebrate in front of Arsenal fans, and of course Ousmane Dembele and the Barca fans का तो अलग ही कहानी है. So Zaniolo joins another long list of ex-players of Roma who have gone to other clubs and who've come back to score against Roma or perform well. You can say Antonio Cassano, Mohamed Salah, Daniel Pablo Asualdo. More recently, you had Eduardo Bove, Romelu Lukaku, and now, of course, Nicolo Zaniolo. So typically, as a Roma fan, तो मैंने ये देखा है कि जहाँ पे भी हमारे एक्स प्लेयर्स जाते हैं, probably they don't have really good spells per se. I mean, some of them do, some of them don't, but they will always come back to haunt the former employers. I mean, I can also imagine the likes of Gianluca Caprari or Alessio Cerci. Again, आपको शायद ये नाम से आपको शायद वाकिफ नहीं होंगे क्योंकि इतने बड़े नाम नहीं जैसे कि सलाह है वगैरह, लेकिन even these players have come back to haunt Roma in the past. So it's like a very old script. और मैं ये कहते रहता हूँ कि I've seen this movie a million times. Former Roma player coming and scoring against Roma, but this one really hurt because Zaniolo was a kid when he came to Rome. An 18-year-old kid, relatively unknown quantity when Monchi brought him from Internazionale. जो deal था with Raja Nainggolan, he went the other way. Zaniolo came here, so unknown quantity. Lekin we had heard a lot of things that he's got some really good characteristics and he's a potential star for the future. And life began slowly for him in Rome. Eusebio Di Francesco was the coach at the time, and he gave him his debut against Real Madrid in the Champions League, very unexpectedly. But Zaniolo wasn't fazed by the occasion. He looked like he belonged in that stage. And then we slowly saw him, getting into their stride. And that goal against Sassuolo, his first goal for Roma, the way he sat down the keeper and just dinged the ball past him. तो तभी हमको पता चला कि चलो he's a star in the making. Definitely he's got these traits in him. And we saw him evolve into a very tricky customer. He had this burst of pace. He had the physical strength to hold off his markers, and of course a very, very decent left foot. His goal against Napoli will always be there with me. उसके बाद में came the injury problems. Of course, he had 2 ACLs in the course of his career at Roma, keeping him out for almost 2 years. The club stuck with him during these difficult times, and after the first ACL itself, you could possibly gauge कि हाँ, he has lost a bit of explosiveness in him, and the characteristics that made him so unplayable at times. वो थोड़ा एक वो जो burst of pace था, that a little bit more of physicality was lost. Again, he was starting to come good, and he suffered another ACL. And after he came back from those from the second ACL, of course it was a very different Zaniolo. But once again, the fans, the club, the players, his teammates stuck with him, and you could see that even Jose Mourinho had a lot of faith in him. And he came good in the season where Roma won the Conference League. Of course, he scored the winner against Feyenoord. A fantastic ball from Gianluca Mancini, and Zaniolo's goal did make the difference. I still have the jersey from that season, Zaniolo 22, because eventually he won us, the trophy in the final. He scored a goal. तो मेरे लिए तो भाई ये जो बच्चा था हमेशा एक स्पेशल बच्चा था. But then again, when it comes to decision making, he was always a bit more like Antonio Cassano or a Mario Balotelli. उसके जो decision making से थोड़े it was a bit weird, and he would often get involved with a lot of stuff off the pitch as well. The whole Zaccagni incident with Zaniolo is like folklore in Italy. अगर आपको पता नहीं तो वो कौन सा मूवी अभी जो आया था दिलजीत दोसांझ और वो क्या है उसका नाम तृप्ति दिमरी का जहाँ पे वो paternity test वाला था. So similar case, not exactly a similar case, but something like that with Zaccagni. So of course he had his off-pitch issues and all of that. And to be honest, Mourinho actually had a lot of faith in him. And the season where eventually he left or he forced to move out of Roma. Us season mein he wasn't really at his best, but Mourinho still persisted with him, and he wanted to kind of like force his way out of the club, and that came in the January market. Like literally, I would say 10 days before the winter market closed is when he forced his way out of Roma into a move to Galatasaray. That really left a sour taste in the mouth, especially because Roma didn't have any time to bring in any reinforcements because it had already been so late in the winter transfer market. And of course, fans के साथ में एक strain आ गया उसके relationship में क्योंकि the way that he exited wasn't really I would say ceremonious. So that came then of course he went to Galatasaray, he spent some time in Turkey, came to England, Aston Villa on loan. वहाँ पे भी उसने थोड़ा time spend किया before finally making a move back to Italy under Gasperini for Atalanta. And this is probably his last, I would say, big club, so to say, if he doesn't perform well. Otherwise, I could see him, yo-yoing between mid-table clubs and possibly, eventually becoming into that typical Serie A journeyman. So, of course, Gasperini did bring him, and थोड़े बहुत Gasperini के comments भी थे at the start of the season that he's unfit and he's not in full fitness, whatever. That's typical Gasperini stuff for you. But Zaniolo, before this game, was very motivated to score against Roma. He wanted to prove a point, and the way that the game panned out, to be honest, I don't think so. The scoreline is a fair reflection of what happened in the game. I think Roma were in the game for the majority of the part, especially in the second half. Roma really started well. Should have scored a goal. Manu Kone came close. Artem Dovbyk had a few chances, gilt-edged chances, which he could have done better. But eventually the goal came through a deflection from Martin Derun, another character who we will speak about some other day. क्योंकि आज उसका दिन है, लेकिन याद रख भाई सबका दिन आता है और वो दिन दूर नहीं की जब हमारा भी दिन आएगा. So anyways, Derun scoring from the most, I would say the most piss poor luck that Roma have had. Deflected, Zeki Celik ke back se deflect hoke ball went into the back of the net, and Atalanta got a 1-0 lead away from home. And then Zaniolo comes on, and you see him, he's trying to instigate, and he's been diving around the pitch. Mancini आगे उसको एक flick भी किया उसको, because obviously former teammate है, nothing in a very I would say not in a way that he can get a yellow or red card. It's just masti mein. That's how it is. And it's not like Zaniolo reacted also and dived in that particular action. But nevertheless, he did score from a corner. Cuadrado whipping in a corner, and he flicked it on. And then he removed his t-shirt, jersey, went to the Atalanta fans and celebrated like crazy. Absolutely bonkers. And, those celebrations are still running viral on Twitter or X. It's still happening, and Zaniolo did score against his old club. So, मैं काफी पढ़ रहा था कि of course the Roma fans did jeer him, they did boo him when he came on. So obviously, he did not take that quietly. He did score and he did celebrate. And I have no qualms. Roma fans had all the right to boo him. He had all the right to celebrate the way that he did to prove a point, obviously. So in short, जो हुआ सो हुआ है, right? I don't think so. Had he been like, had he not celebrated, he would have got back any respect from Roma fans per se. But he's a character who is like that. I just hope that, यहाँ पे कुछ बुरा scene नहीं हो. I hope there's no personal targeting of Zaniolo the kid, or, things escalate to another situation. Let's keep things civil off the pitch. On the pitch, of course, he has started his villain arc, like the thumbnail mentions. Zaniolo is the villain right now for Roma, like many others in the past, and that's fair. I don't think so. इसमें कोई बड़ी बात है. It's just the nature of the game. And unfortunately, all the good things that he's done, in his Roma spell, will now will now have a very sour taste in the mouth. I mean, wo jo Conference League wala goal tha, the goal that won Roma the Conference League, now that will be eclipsed by this particular celebration, which is sad. Which is really sad. But you make your choices and you live or die by the sword, and that is what Zaniolo has done with regards to this. Unfortunately, he remains, villain number one in Rome right now. But with time, this will also move on. Let's see how his career pans out. And more importantly, I really want Roma to get all 3 points in the games coming up against the likes of Lecce, Como, and get the season back on track. Because although Ranieri has brought in a renewed enthusiasm, and we did play well against Napoli, Spurs, and Atalanta, there is nothing already to show on the scoreboard. But I'm very, very positive that this team will bounce back and अच्छे दिन वापस आने वाले. Despite the negative phase that Roma are in right now, currently 14th on the table, I absolutely have 100% hope that things will change. This is the bottom, and the only way is upwards and onwards. That's it for this video, guys. अगर आप यहाँ तक आए हो तो hit the subscribe button and like the video, share it with your friends. I'll be coming up with content. Content आता रहेगा. My Roma story is almost done, so that's going to come out soon after this. बाकी भी content is planned. And as usual, thank you for all the love and support. Leave all your comments below. I'll reply to all of it. Let's keep things civil in the comment section also, guys. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in another video sometime soon. Until next time, this is Ajay Menon, and I'm signing off. Forza Roma, sempre. Ciao, ciao.